Hey guys. Okay, so welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I have my monthly wrap up for February. Let me know down below how many books you read this month, and after I go over my books, we can see if we read the same books. So that will be very, very fun. So I do want to go over kind of like my a genre of books that I read this month. Or like, you know what? I want to go over the genre of books that I've read like all this year. So far this month, including February, I have read 2 dystopians, 3 lit fic, 1 romance, 1 thriller, 2 fantasy, 0 sci-fi, and 1 historical. I don't put horror or like suspense or mystery in that list because I don't ever pick up those kind of books. So I just kind of stick with these genres to like explain to you. So those are all the genres I've read in January and February combined. Now, if we go over the books that I read in February. Okay, so the first book that I read this month was Writers and Lovers by Lily King. I super randomly discovered this book on Goodreads. I wanted to read like a literary fiction book that wasn't too long, and so I stumbled upon it and decided to pick it up. So this book is fiction, contemporary literary fiction, and it kind of follows this girl. Her name is Casey. So Casey, let's see, she has a master's in like writing or something like that. She's a writer. And in this book, we're kind of following her life. You could low-key call it a midlife crisis. She's just going through feelings like she wants to be a professional writer. That's what she wants to do with her life, but she's always found these roadblocks of not being able to finish her book, not being able to just finish the draft of it. And we're kind of following her story, of course, with multiple different love interests throughout the book. And you kind of see her make decisions that are like, are you sure that was the right thing for you to do? And other things where it's like, ooh, this could be good for you. And so we're kind of just following that. And it was a cute little book. It was actually super short, 295 pages. I did end up giving it 3 stars. I enjoyed the writing of this book. I do have to say, there was this one passage in the book that was so, oh, you guys know when you read a passage and you're like, whoa, that kind of sounds like me, or like that kind of feels so like personal to your own life. Yeah, that's how I felt. That's how I felt reading like certain passages in this book. Okay, so I did want to read to you guys one quote from the book. This was at the 8% mark. Not a spoiler. It's just this moment where she is in the bathroom and she is going through something emotionally and she just does not feel good at all. And so she says, I look into my eyes, but they aren't really mine. Not the eyes I used to have. They're the eyes of someone very tired and very sad. And once I see them, I feel even sadder. And then I see that sadness, that compassion for the sadness in my eyes. And I see the water rising in them. I'm both the sad person and the person wanting to comfort the sad person. And then I feel sad for that person who has so much compassion because she's clearly been through the same thing too. And the cycle keeps repeating. It's like when you go into a dressing room with a 3-paneled mirror and you line them up just right to see the long, narrowing hallway of yourselves diminishing into infinity. It feels like that. Like I'm sad for an infinite number of myselves. Oh, guys, when I read that, it really broke me because it just reminded me how often that happens to myself. Like whenever I am so upset or sad about something and I happen to, you know, look in a mirror and I see my sadness, and not only do I feel the sadness of what I'm going through personally, but it's almost like I'm also someone else watching myself from the mirror be sad, and I feel bad for that person. I'm feeling bad for myself, and it's a never-ending cycle of being sad, but also feeling bad for the sad person you see in the mirror. That sad person's you, so it just happens over and over and over again, and it's just like, she put it in such perfect words that I had to read it again, and I just think it was amazing and beautiful, and love that. So I definitely recommend this book if you guys enjoy literary fiction. Like I said, it's super short. But yeah, that was Writers and Lovers. Now, the second book I read this month was Yellow Wife by Sadika Johnson. Oh, guys, this book, oh my golly wolly. This was an interesting book because I went into it pretty blind. I knew it was historical fiction, but honestly, I didn't really know too much other than that. Now, when of course, I own the book, so when I saw the, so when I saw the front, and I see the words Yellow Wife, I can use context clues and think to myself, okay, this is probably about a main character female who is of mixed race in some kind of historical fiction era. And so I start reading this book, and the setting, we're in Virginia. We are following our main character, Phoebe Dolores Brown, and so she is a slave. So we are in the year 18 something. In a plantation, and the book kind of starts off with us getting to know Phoebe. She's on this plantation with her mother. She has some other friends. She has a man, but of course, at the end of the day, she is not free. She is, by law, someone's property, and it's just this beautiful story of, us getting to know her character. Her mother is consistently telling her, "You are not anyone's property. You are free. You are an independent person, and I promise you, one day we will not be here." And something really insane happens, and it causes her to go on this crazy journey. She's taken from her home, and it is just this beautiful and heartbreaking tale of Phoebe Dolores, who becomes a yellow wife. This was a very good book, also very short. This has 278 pages. I gave this a 4 stars. I enjoyed my time. It's also very interesting because I have seen, a handful of slave movies, like TV shows. I've watched them, and they are very hard to watch. It's a hard watch, And honestly, I discovered that it's an even harder read, because at least when you are watching something so horrific, it's almost like you're watching it, but as your mind is trying to capitulate what you're watching, the next scene is happening, and you're kind of able to brush over it and keep moving. But in this book, when you're reading this book physically, and so much depressing and horrific things happen in this book that, as your mind is trying to understand what's going on, you're stopping reading. And so you're not able to kind of brush over the moment. You're reading every word, and you're seeing it in your mind, and it's honestly so horrific. So definitely check out trigger warnings for Yellow Wife. There are a lot of things that happen in this book that would be triggering for some people. So definitely make sure to look up those warnings in case you don't want to read this book. But yes, I enjoyed myself. 4 stars. Okay, the next book I read this month was it was Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb. So this is book 2 in the Farseers trilogy. Book 1 was called Assassin's Apprentice. Both of these books are humongous, chunky books. This book has 675 pages. It's fantasy, epic fantasy. So this is a book, kind of talking about the whole entire series. It's a book about we're in a fictional place. We're following our main character Fitz, and in book 1, he is he's like super young. I think we start getting to know him when he's like around 5 years old, and we soon learn that he is the bastard son of the king in waiting, which just means he's like the oldest prince. So his father is the prince, and it's like this very highly, what would you call it? Like a very political book. You're kind of going through Fitz's life with him as he ages up. So he does age progressively throughout the books, and he's trying to find his footing, trying to understand where he stands. He is given a job, the assassin's apprentice. So he is being taught to be an assassin. Because he's a bastard, he is not considered royalty, but the king wants him to. The king is like, hey, I will feed you, clothe you, and keep you warm, and you can stay like at the palace or whatever. because since you are like of royal blood, which it doesn't really count because you're a bastard, we're going to teach you to be an assassin and you're going to help us out and we're all going to be buddy and we're going to be cool. And so that's the book. I did end up giving this book, I gave it 4 stars. Did I give it 4 stars? I feel like I shouldn't have. Hold on. I just updated that. Okay, it's 3 stars. Yeah, so I am giving it 3 stars because I have just noticed that the book is very, very long-winded. And I understand, you know, people love Robin Hobb and love her books, but they are extremely character-driven to be considered an epic fantasy. Very little, you know, action ever happens. And the overarching kind of problem that's going on within the society, within the world, is also very slow moving. And it's almost like we've been saying the same thing for for 300 pages. What's next? And so personally, I have decided not to continue reading the series. I'm going to go ahead and stop with the 2nd book and kind of be done with it. Okay, the next book that I read this month. Oh, this is the last book I read, guys. Only read 4 books this month. So the last one I read was, of course, ACOTAR. I did read A Court of Thorns and Roses this month. I actually just finished it, I think 2 days ago. So I did end up giving this book 3 stars. It's funny because I, of course, have seen this book for years, ever since I've kind of discovered like booktube and booktok. So I always knew it was popular, but I always pushed it off and told myself I would never read it because from what I knew about it, I didn't think I'd like it and I didn't feel like wasting my time picking it up. But it kind of got to the point where I was like, you know, I want a new fantasy series to enjoy and to love. And this one is very beloved. So I was like, hey, let me at least try the 1st book. And I did. So y'all should be grateful I tried the 1st book. Okay. So anyways, read it, gave it 3 stars. I do have a reading vlog on that. I'll put it up here. I also have a vlog where I read Alewife, so I'll also put that up there. But I didn't love A Court of Thorns and Roses. I also hate the title. Like, why is that the title? Anyways, I just didn't feel connected at all. And of course, after I posted my reading vlog and I gave kind of my opinion on Instagram, everybody was like, oh my gosh, you have to read the 2nd book. You know, it gets so much bigger and, you know, certain love interests aren't actually like in game. And that's cool, but that's not why I gave it 3 stars. It's not why I didn't like it. It's not because I didn't like Tamlin. You know, it's because I just didn't care. And you have to care, guys. A plot can be so good, but if you as the reader aren't connected to any of the characters or aren't connected to the world, and sometimes people just have niches, you know, I just don't really care about fae or like monsters and oh, I've got powers, I'm immortal. I just don't really care. And that's what I've learned. So no, I won't be picking up the 2nd book, but I can definitely appreciate the book and I can totally see how it's popular. I was impressed by the writing. I thought the writing was way better than I thought it was going to be, I'll be honest. But yeah, you know, 3 stars. It is what it is. It happens. So guys, that is my Feb wrap up for the month. Thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, let me know down below if you have read any of the books that I have read this month and let me know what you all thought of them. All right. Bye.